All right. Welcome back to Geek Corner, brought to you by the Coach Steve Show podcast. Logan Lee is back with me. I think this will be number 16 total if you add all the ones I've done by myself. Logan is back. He's big time now. He has his own podcast, the No One Asked Us podcast. Make sure you guys go check out all the stuff he and Craig does, their live streams, their post-game Illini shows, their daily Monday rants, as I call them, because I listen to them on the way to work. I will say, though, I do miss the, shut up and sit down. That really got me going in the morning.
It's still there.
It's just the music.
He took it out? I thought it was still there.
Last time I listened to it was just music.
Oh, maybe not. I thought it was still there, but it might maybe on one of them. I don't know. The shut up and sit down. Yeah, that's he threw that in there. I thought it was a little aggressive, but it works. It works for us. We love going on our little tangents about some topics. It's been a lot of fun.
Going to work at 6:40 in the morning, just hearing that shut up and sit down, and I'm like, all right, go.
Our Illini post game just went up minutes ago, so talking about today's game against Michigan State, big win for the Illini. So that'll be up for you to check out later on.
Yep, they almost screwed it up.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at moments, but Trent Frazier, man, Trent Frazier, he's the closer this team needed.
That's all you have to say is Trent Frazier. It's all only thing you have to say.
That's all you need. Jake Grandison for 30 minutes and Trent Frazier for 10, plus 20 and 9 for Kofi, 27 and 9 for Kofi. I'll take it. That's a good day. It's a good day. What are we talking about today, Steve?
We are talking about maybe some Marvel, I guess. I think something happened. Something happened during the Super Bowl, I guess, like one of the very first commercials. The big game. There might have been Benedict Cumberbatch sighting somewhere at the very beginning. I'm not 100% sure. But we got that new Doctor Strange trailer. We had the original that came out, maybe a month ago? I don't remember. Then,
it came out No Way Home.
Yeah, the original
post credit. It was post credit for No Way Home. Was the
my months are running together.
The first Doctor Strange trailer was the post credit for No Way Home.
Yes.
So it came out in when was that? December, I guess, was when that movie came out. So
yep, and then we get a new one, and they've already changed some of the one at the end of the movie. But when that happened, I stood up and cheered.
What are you talking about?
Oh, the only thing I think I noticed differently was when he goes to see Wanda and they're surrounded by the trees and the flowers. Then when she's saying that's not, that just isn't fair. They're in the same location, but everything's red. So they think she made that world.
Yeah, could be. Could be. I can tell you have all sorts of theories that you are ready to go. You are on the theory machine. And you got a lot you want to talk about.
I'm on the theory machine. I read everything again. This is like WandaVision all over again.
Yeah.
Not quite as deep.
WandaVision was that was a lot of fun. A lot of rabbit holes were gone down for that.
But I've decided I have to rewatch that show before this comes out. I might have to revisit.
I did watch it a second time. I watched it when Allison watched it, so a few months ago by now, but that's a great show, man. WandaVision was a lot of fun.
Somebody at work just said they just watched it. They watched that and Falcon Winter Soldier in one day. Started 2 days. 2 days they finished it.
Wow, what a day!
Because they had texted me saying he goes, "How is this any good? The first two aren't very good." He was talking about WandaVision, and I said, "You gotta get past the first 2 episodes for it to pick up."
Correct.
And once he did, he texted back and said, "Oh,
yes, that is true."
Yes, I have tons of theories, tons of ideas. I have read everything, unless it's a huge spoiler. I try to stay away from. I just look at different ideas. what was your overall reaction? Mine, I was standing up, and I'm glad you're on board with this might be a bigger movie than Spider-Man. I'm really glad you're on board on this train.
Yeah. So is that where you want to start? You want to start with that whole thing?
Yeah. Publicly, I told Logan that this movie, I told you back when Spider-Man came out.
Yeah.
I said, it has the possibility of being bigger than Spider-Man.
Right. I don't know that I totally understood by what you meant by bigger. And I don't know right now. What do you mean by bigger? When you say bigger, what do you mean?
I think it will be a better movie. Like, how do I put this? It will have, it's an obvious thing. It will have a bigger impact on Marvel, I think, than Spider-Man.
I agree.
I think it will have just way more to it. So it will be a better movie. But you made a good point in saying that with the idea of Tobey Maguire coming back and the box office numbers of this movie, will Doctor Strange get to that box office number? Probably not.
Right.
But I think it will be a better movie.
I agree with you. I think that, for one, this is a full-on Marvel Studios project.
Yes.
Therefore, Kevin Feige has complete control. This will be in the sense of what it means to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this will be the biggest movie they've had since Endgame. Mm-hmm. I do not doubt that. Just for what it's going to mean. This is going to be the official introduction of the X-Men, I believe, to some degree. I mean, I don't know who we're going to see, what we're going to see, but it does, from what we have seen so far in these trailers or heard in these trailers, it does sound like we are officially going to get X-Men, get mutants into the MCU, which we've been expecting to happen. That's been the funny thing about this. When they made all their announcements several months back, a year ago, whenever it was, they announced all these future projects, they mentioned the mutants were coming, but they had no announcement that there was a actual X-Men project in the works. The only confirmed, well, I guess there are two confirmed Fox carryover projects that are in the works that we know of. That's Deadpool 3, and we know there's a Fantastic Four movie coming, but other than John Watts directing it, we don't know anything about it. But there was no mention of particular X-Men characters or anything like that other than like Deadpool. But I think this confirms this will be the introduction for them. So yes, in terms of scale and scope and how it affects the MCU, yes, this will be the biggest MCU movie since Endgame. I do not believe that it will top Spider-Man No Way Home box office numbers, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, Spider-Man is its own animal. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between bringing in 20 plus years of Spider-Man movies. I mean, those are still some of the biggest movies ever made. Mm-hmm. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the first two Spider-Man movies were, outside of the MCU, they are two of the biggest box office movies ever made. Not that the X-Men aren't going to bring in people, but this isn't an X-Men movie. We will get an introduction to the X-Men. But that's the reason, number one, is because that was 20 some years of Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man is the biggest Marvel property. You can say what you want about what the MCU has done with and without Spider-Man, but Spider-Man as a property is bigger than anything else. The second reason why I don't think it will top those numbers is that people were taking their kids to see Spider-Man.
Good point.
Everything they've said about this movie is that this movie is darker. It's the closest thing they've ever done to horror. It's still going to be PG-13. They're not going to have an R-rated movie in the MCU other than maybe Deadpool down the road, if they even go that far. But I don't think that there's going to be quite as many people taking their 8-year-old kids to this movie, which obviously plays a factor in the box office. I'm not suggesting that this movie won't do well. That's not what I'm saying at all. But to say it's going to touch box office numbers from what Spider-Man No Way Home did, I can't get on board with that. I don't think that happens. Still, it's an MCU movie. It's going to be a huge MCU movie. It's going to have all sorts of repercussions from the past and the future of not only the MCU, but the other Marvel properties, the X-Men, potentially something to do with Spider-Man, maybe Fantastic Four. We don't know. But yes, it will be, in terms of those things, it will be the biggest thing they've done since Endgame.
Yeah, I think the biggest 4 movies they've ever made will be Endgame, Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home, and this one. I think these will be their best. Now, before we dive in...
Okay, hold on. No Way Home, yes, from a box office standpoint, was absolutely a monster. And what it did to bring in these characters and these other characters from these other universes and things was big. I just don't know that it was like, I don't know. To say it, I'm not even sure that I would put it in that category yet. I guess I don't know. It's hard. It's just hard to say. Like at this point, I mean, Endgame and Infinity War, I feel like are on their own level. Like, I don't think anything's going to touch those things for a long time. I don't even think Doctor Strange will touch those things. I think they are tier 1, Infinity War and Endgame. Tier 2, yes, I think you could consider No Way Home, potentially Doctor Strange, probably the original Avengers. Like those movies are like tier 2, I think. And I think this will be in that category. And that's kind of how I see it shaking out.
Right. I mean, they said this will be the biggest or the most Avengers we have seen. Like, it'll be more than Endgame is already like rumored of like characters we will see. We saw every Avenger in Endgame. They said we'll see more. So what does that mean?
We will not see more Avengers than we saw in Endgame.
Well,
in Endgame, they brought out every single superhero the MCU has ever had for one huge boss battle at the end for the last 30 minutes of the movie. I'm not going to try to argue the scope and the scale of this movie, but it will not be like that. I guarantee it. Yes, they will bring in other people. They will be bringing people in from other universes and stuff like that. I do not think that a Doctor Strange movie is going to have nearly as many heroes as Endgame did. I could be surprised. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's happening. I just don't.
Well, that was when I saw that was one of my thoughts was, do they mean who we currently know, or are they talking about bringing in who we know, but then we're going to get glimpses of people from the past? So are they adding in X-Men? Are we going to see like a Chris Evans Fantastic Four character? That would be huge.
Yes.
Like, are they adding that into the equation?
I think there will be plenty of crossover moments from past universes, from future universes, from universes that didn't exist. I do think there's going to be plenty of that. But in terms of total number, I would doubt it. I would doubt it. So, I mean, all things are on the table at this point. They've given us very little to work with. I mean, yes, we've seen 2 trailers, and we have references to some people that are going to be in this movie, but yeah, all things are on the table. I don't think the total number will be like that. It'd be my guess.
Yeah, when I first read that, I was excited. And then I thought about it, like you just said, like, well, wait a minute. How are you going to get all of these characters into this? And you can't.
I just don't. No, not in a Doctor Strange movie. No offense to Doctor Strange, because this movie will be important for what the future of this universe is, and there's going to be more to this. There's going to be a lot more characters in this movie than the original Doctor Strange, but Captain America: Civil War, I think, was pushing the lines of how many Avengers we could bring into one non-Avenger movie. So this one, yeah, again, there's going to be all sorts of tie-ins. There's going to be all sorts of cameos. We're going to see crazy people show up. Maybe a Chris Evans Fantastic Four. Who knows? But I don't know.
I'm trying to find the things. I could say it word for word what it is, but I can't find it. Especially because when they came out.
Let's do this. You give me your theories, and I will say if I think it's going to happen or if it won't happen.
Okay. There's a lot.
I will either go with it or I will debunk. We could call this could be a segment called Debunked. We'll call it Debunked.
Debunked or fact checking myself.
Yes. You give me your theories and I will debunk them. Or tell you
hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just again, different computer. It sounds different in here, but it's all good. No, it's not you, it's me. Like I don't sound the same.
You sound great. Do I sound great?
Logan, you sound perfect. Like kiss on the lips, perfect.
I am perfect. I have a face for radio.
I don't even have a voice for radio, but we're going to continue on.
Okay.
One theory I have, and I just came up with it today because of looking at the picture of what looks like Will going after Wanda in the trailer. That is a Kang variant. When you look at the picture, that's who it looks like.
What part of the movie? What part of the trailer are you talking about?
So when it shows, like everybody said, "Oh, it's Captain Marvel comes flying in to the building."
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Kang actually makes sense though. I never thought about that, but from what I've seen, there's part of the internet that thinks that's Tom Cruise Iron Man, and there's part of the internet that thinks that's Captain Marvel or Proton or somebody from the Captain Marvel world, Monica Rambeau or whatever her mom's name was. But the Kang thing makes sense. I do think Kang will be in this movie at some point. Again, I don't know. I think a good number of people will be in this movie. My question is exactly how much. But that was also my thing going into Spider-Man. I was pretty sure that Tobey and Andrew were going to be in Spider-Man. I didn't think they would be in it that much. Ended up being wrong there. They were in the entire third act of the movie. I think a lot of characters will appear in this movie. I just don't think... My guess is that they won't be in it very long. It'll be, a few minutes here and there. I do believe this is a Doctor Strange and Wanda Maximoff movie. I think that this is their movie. We will get appearances from other characters at times. Some of them will, obviously be varying in length of how long they're on screen. But I do think Kang will be in the movie. Is that him in that moment? That's possible. I hadn't thought about that one, but I do believe he will be in the movie at some point.
I just saw that today. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I agree with you. When I first saw it, I thought it was Captain Marvel. Then I rewatched it. I said, well, wait a minute. When you read about Iron Man, whether it's Tom Cruise or not, the Iron Man that they talk about in the comics when this happens is it's an Iron Man that has an Infinity Stone or two in the suit. Yeah. And in that world, Iron Man kills Thanos with the Infinity Stone. So that's why they're claiming that. And then in the part where Strange is arrested and it has like the bots walking him up, they look similar to the Iron Man suit from the comics from that person.
Right. Yes.
So that's why the theory
I do think there's a tie into Iron Man there. Yes. I think those resemble, whether that's from a universe in the comics that we haven't seen on screen, or some sort of relation to Ultron. I do believe there's an Iron Man connection there, and it's all but guaranteed that is the Illuminati. So, yes. Kang, Kang, I do think will show up. Is that him? I don't know, but I do think he will be there.
We will see Loki in this movie.
True. Again, don't know for how much. That's going to be the theme for this. Don't know how long. Don't know how much screen time. Don't know how much of a factor. But yes, I do believe Loki is in this movie.
Will it be the Loki we saw in Loki or a variant?
Variant. I think it'll be a variant because I think the fact that they kind of ended season 1 or part 1 of Loki, whatever they're calling it, kind of on a cliffhanger. I don't know how they would tie that into this movie. I would venture to guess that if we see Loki, it's probably a variant. Does that mean that he's played by Tom Hiddleston? I don't know. But I do believe to some degree Loki will be in the movie.
Yeah, because it seemed like at the end of Loki, he got thrown into a different timeline because they didn't know who he was. You know, they were like,
yes,
they had no idea.
I think that all of the characters that we have seen so far that are tied to the multiverse at some point will show up. I think at some point you will see Loki. I think at some point you'll see Kang. I think at some point we know Wanda, we know Strange. I think at some point, I think you'll see the Watcher. I think you will see I think you'll see Jeffrey Wright in live action form as the Watcher. Will be in this movie at some point. Again, don't know when, don't know how long, don't know to what capacity, but I think he shows up. And I would not be shocked if there's some sort of reference to Spider-Man. I don't know what that means. I think Tobey Maguire is likely, but again, it's probably not going to, if that happens, it's probably going to be a very small cameo type of role. But I would not be shocked if we see a Spider-Man reference. I don't think we'll see another Spider-Man character because of the whole Sony thing, which I think is hard enough as it is to even get him involved. Although, I just thought about something. Now, I'm sorry to digress from what you were asking me earlier. Wasn't Tom Holland supposed to have one more movie left on his contract?
I thought so. I thought
Tom Holland had one Spider-Man movie and one other movie on his contract. I thought that's what the deal was, but I haven't heard anything about that lately. So maybe I'm wrong. I could be very well wrong on that. Or maybe people have just forgotten about it. So maybe Tom Holland shows up in this, which wouldn't shock me. I think that's probably just as likely of a case if he does have one other movie on his contract. But yes, what I'm getting at, I think any of these characters we have seen that have some sort of tie to the multiverse will show up in this movie. Carry on.
As you said that, I started laughing because there's a character I want to ask if we'll see. Will we see Ralph Boner in this movie?
Yes, but I think we will finally, I think we will drop the Ralph Boner facade, and I think he will be Pietro Maximoff. I think there will be a tie-in to Magneto. I think we will learn that that's not the truth. I think, yes, I do think Evan Peters shows up. We will learn that he's not Ralph Boner, and that he is actually Pietro from the other universe. Yes.
Because one of the
keep going.
Because
I'm just ruining the movie for everybody. I haven't even seen this thing. It won't come out for 5 months.
I already saw like somebody writing how the movie will end, and I'm like, it better not end the way they're saying it's going to end. Like, I'm already
strange guys.
No, he gets like taken, and that's how it ends. And I'm like, but we've already
taken.
Yeah, like something happens and he gets taken, and that's how it ends. And I'm like, it better not be that way. We've already seen him get arrested, so I don't think that's the case. But I remember reading that. But yes, one of these websites put a picture up and said, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man tries to confront Wanda, but doesn't go too well and leads to a quick 1-versus-1 sequence against each other.
Could be. I mean, I could see Toby. I could see Toby making an appearance. I could see any of the 3 Spider-Men making an appearance in this movie. I think to some degree they're all likely. So,
Yeah, Iron Man is said to be the most. Tom Cruise's Iron Man is said to be the most powerful Iron Man. Has 3 Infinity Stones, advanced armor, and will have Thanos' head in a jar.
So, up until the last week, I have been very off of the Tom Cruise train. I thought that was just absolute fan theories gone awry. But with the more or less confirmation of Marvel's Illuminati showing up in this thing, I think it's happening. I think we're getting Tom Cruise. I don't think it'll be much. I think that's happening. Iron Man will, if they're doing the Illuminati, Iron Man has to be in it. So unless they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back, which I wouldn't rule out. My only thing with the whole, and I know we haven't really even got to the Illuminati part of this. Maybe this is where we start that conversation. So the MCU is huge. Like, it's a lot of movies covering the course of a long period of time and all this stuff. But if we're bringing in the Illuminati, which we should probably explain is like this governing body of 6 individuals from all across walks of life and representing different parts of the universe and all these things that kind of essentially govern the superheroes, govern the Avengers and all this stuff. If we're bringing them in for this movie, I kind of feel like we're going to see them again later.
Right.
I just have a hard time thinking they're just going to show up this one movie and we're never going to see them again. So if you're bringing in people like Patrick Stewart, not as much. Like, I feel like for as long as he's alive, more or less. Also, Iowa just beat Ohio State.
Ooh, nice.
I just don't know if I see Tom Cruise coming back for more movies. Not that he would have to. Not that that's like a definitive, like the Illuminati is going to show up again several times. But that's my one thing with the whole Tom Cruise thing is if he's getting casted for this role, I feel like that means at some point he's going to show up again. I don't know that I see that. I don't know that I see him coming into this for more than just a one-off. So that's my one hold up with the Tom Cruise thing. And they could just make it a one-off, or he could maybe show up multiple times over the course of the next 5 years. But that would be my one thing.
So I read this too. We think we know who the villain's going to be in this movie, and it's all pointing towards it might be Wanda. Like, she may be the villain. What if they spin it completely off and the Illuminati end up being villains? Like, what if they spin it? And also, the pictures they show, what if Wanda attacks the Illuminati and they keep talking about how dark it's going to be? What if she kills people? What if she does take out some of these people and they just completely spin it? Or like, because we still don't know why at the end of WandaVision she hears her kids. Like, we still don't know where that came from. So the more people have again, I'm just reading things and listening to people, how they talk about it, way smarter than I in Marvel. Like, I listen to these podcasts about people talking about it. They said, what if the Illuminati want to get their attention and they do something with the kids? Who knows? What if they seem like bad guys? What if Wanda thinks they are? Like, we don't know. But that could be a spin. That could be a spin way of their villains, and that's why it could be a one show of like, we see them, they end up being the villains of this thing. They manipulate Wanda or whoever.
Yeah,
like that could be a way to have it be because you're right. One, would Tom Cruise come back for 3 movies, 20 minutes each? I don't think so, and that'd be a lot of money. He would want a ton of money to do that.
No, I don't think he would.
Patrick Stewart would. He'd come back.
So since you brought this up, and I hadn't really been thinking about this whole thing, but it's really kind of you kind of piqued my interest here. The whole villain thing. I do believe I'm of the theory that Wanda will be the quote unquote villain of this movie. I don't know that this will be a black and white sort of thing. I think this is going to be a moral journey sort of storyline in terms of she's the villain, but she's doing it for the right reasons type thing. The Illuminati thing makes sense. I don't think they'll make them the true villains of the movie, but I could certainly see them being involved with her and her kids to some degree, which for a while may make them opposing her or something like that. I could see that being the case, but I don't think that the Illuminati will become the villains of this movie. I don't think that they would steer so far away from the comics to do that.
Yeah, and then
I guess
I also don't know if our Doctor Strange will become a part of it. A part of me thinks maybe one of so that the Doctor Strange we think would be the villain. They said when you have the captions on, it says Sinister Strange. So right. Is he going to be a bad guy, or is that the Strange on the Illuminati that gets Strange captured? And then you have Patrick Stewart saying, "Let's tell him the truth."
Who do you think, if assuming that there are in fact 6 members, which is what they're supposed to be, is what the comics have, is 6 members in the Illuminati? Who do you believe these 6 people are going to be? 6 people, 6 characters, 6 actors, whatever are going to be.
Good Lord, I've seen so many things. Like people have zoomed in on the picture and they think it's what's his face from Fantastic Four? What's the doctor's name?
Reed Richards.
They think it's him. Then I've also seen where they think it's a Black Panther because of the thing around the neck. Like they have so many, because I think in the comic book it is Black Panther. Like there is,
it goes through, it's different people. It's not always the same, but it's primarily Iron Man is one, Professor X is one, Reed Richards is one. At some point, Black Panther is Namor, who is going to be the villain or a character in Black Panther. One of them. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange or somebody from the mystic arts world is supposed to be one. I don't know. I mean, I think we've already talked about it. I do think there's a good chance that Tom Cruise Iron Man will be one. Professor X is obviously going to be one. I don't know about the Sorcerer one. It could be like Sinister Strange, but I would guess not. I don't know what variant of Doctor Strange or the mystic arts person that will be. I don't think this is canon to the comics, but I kind of wonder if an Eternal might be there.
I thought that, or
is one of the 6. I could just
go ahead. Mordor.
Yeah,
I thought about him because there is that fight scene where Strange is handcuffed.
Right, I could see him being one too. I don't know that they would do a Black Panther variant. Nothing against that character. I don't know. That just seems like muddy waters to me. And the climate. But maybe, I guess. Namor makes sense. I don't remember if they've cast that. I don't remember what's going on with that, but I do know he's supposed to show up.
I think Captain Carter.
Yes, she is in this movie.
Yep.
100%. She is in this movie. She could very well be one of them. That wouldn't shock me either. I think they would probably have a female character there. So I think that probably makes sense. Variant of her.
I think they're going to try.
I wonder about the Watcher, maybe. Jeffrey Wright being one of the 6.
I was going to say, because of Tom Hiddleston saying what if means more to us than we think, this Doctor Strange movie has proven that. So I'm wondering if they're...
I think that was obvious that what if was going to be impactful to some degree.
So I wonder if like they're guardians of the multiverse thing. If they're trying, we won't see a Thor or anything like that. But like,
no,
I think you'll have the Watcher. I think that's what they're going to relate it to. Is this Illuminati is similar to the Guardians of the Multiverse?
Right.
So yeah, I think we're going to see Tom Cruise or an Iron Man. I think we're going to get a Fantastic Four. I highly doubt it's John Krasinski. I highly doubt that.
Yeah, see, I don't know what they're doing Fantastic Four. And there's clearly a reason as to why why nothing is leaked or they haven't announced anything about the Fantastic Four. As much as I want to see that happen, I don't think it is.
I've jumped off that train.
I think it's more likely that it's the guy that played him in the original. I don't remember what his name was. The guy that played him in the original Fantastic Four movie. I think that's probably likely. But I don't think it'll be John Krasinski in this movie or in future movies. It won't be Miles Teller. I guarantee you that because he played him in the second round. What was his name in the first one?
I have so many theories. This could go on forever. I also think Mordor and Wanda kind of team up. Is another thing I have a theory of.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense.
Maybe, I don't know. Like with that, because again, this is a Doctor Strange movie, so I have to rewatch WandaVision. I have to rewatch the original Doctor Strange, because Mordor is going to be a villain. But the conversation they have where he's like, "I'm sorry, Steven, I hope you understand that decoration or whatever he does, like destruction of reality is not going to go unpunished." So that's what makes me think he's a part of the Illuminati, because he might be the one that arrests him and says, "Okay."
Yeah, I could see that. I do think he'll be up there at least to start the movie. Will he end there? I don't know what they're doing with the Illuminati, and I can't sit here and tell you that I can talk like I'm a expert in the comics because I'm not. I really know nothing. All I know is what I hear from other people. But I could see him being there at least when the whole thing starts for sure.
Gruffud, is that how you say his name? Who played the original Reed Richards?
Oh, yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's something weird. He hasn't been in a lot. I'm not super familiar with him, but I could see him being in the movie.
Yeah, that would be fine to bring him. Are you okay if they bring back some of the X-Men that are played by different characters?
What do you mean?
So like we have a different guy playing Wolverine, we have a different person playing Storm.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen. I think it's going to be one of two things. I think you'll either see somebody who has played those characters in the past, so from either of the storylines, either the original trilogy or the prequel movies, or you will see the person who's going to play that role in the future. I don't think they're going to bring in somebody to be an X-Men just for a one-off. I don't think that's happening. My guess is probably most likely that you'll see past people show up in this. But I have no idea what they're doing with X-Men. They have not said anything. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and somebody made a comment, and I know he said, like, I know this. Like, this isn't happening. Like, there's no way that they did this. But wouldn't it be freaking awesome if they had already done an X-Men movie without anybody knowing anything? Like, I know that is literally impossible for that to be the case. Like, we would know. Like, we would know something, if anything. But wouldn't that be really freaking cool if they have already done a new X-Men movie and it's like ready to go? And then at the end of this movie, we find that out. Like, the next movie is actually going to be X-Men and not Thor, Love and Thunder or whatever it is. Not that I'm not excited for that, but like, again, not happening at all. Impossible.
That would be awesome.
But the fact that we don't know anything about X-Men and the fact that they're not it's impossible to even think that they haven't even started this process, but they've kept that under wraps. So I don't know, but that would be really cool.
That would be awesome. If like at the end we get a trailer for like an X-Men movie. That would be awesome.
I did this morning while I was working on some other stuff. I did watch the first 2 X-Men movies again. Those first 2 were pretty good. There's some duds in the X-Men universe, for sure. But those first 2 aren't bad. First one's actually really good.
Yeah, I'm listening to a podcast. They talked about, would they be okay if another character played, if it wasn't Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine? Are you okay with that? And one guy said yes, only because we've been introduced to variants because of Loki. So we'd be okay. We understand. The other guy said no, but what he would like to see is these characters come back just to be seen. But since we know there's and then introduce who they want to be the X-Men later on. So whoever they're casting.
What I believe to be the case is that whatever future X-Men movies we get that are a part of the MCU will be a new cast.
Right.
But for this movie, in terms of the multiverse, I do believe that what X-Men characters we do see will be most likely part of the original trilogy, my guess. Other than like Evan Peters. Evan Peters is showing up in this movie. So like that's like a guarantee. There's a couple in the newer trilogy that might show up. Like I can maybe see James McAvoy showing up and them doing some sort of both Professor X's type of thing. Maybe both Magnetos. Like I could see maybe something like that. But the others, like Jennifer Lawrence, she's not showing up in this. Who I don't remember. I can't remember who was in these movies.
Halle Berry was in them.
Halle Berry was in the original. She could. That wouldn't shock me. Sophie Turner, she's not showing up in this movie.
No,
they're going to completely write off. Days of Futures Past was good, and Logan was good, but everything else that come out of the X-Men universe since like 2006 really isn't all that good. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I think we pretty much we know Patrick Stewart's coming. I think Magneto, either one of them, probably Ian McKellen's version of Magneto would come. I do think Hugh Jackman to some degree will show up in this movie. But again, I think any future X-Men related projects will be different characters.
And this would be a good way to introduce them.
What if Hugh Jackman shows up in the yellow Wolverine suit, like in the comics and in the animated? I think that's happening. I think that they are going to put him, because they made such a big deal about like that not being what he wore. There's even I even remember back when I was watching this today, they even make a reference to it in one of the first original movies. He says something like, "You guys always wear black like this," and one of them says, James Marsden's Cyclops, I think, says, "What, you'd rather wear yellow spandex or something?" So I think that'll happen. I think it'll be Hugh Jackman wearing the famous Wolverine yellow spandex suit. I think that's happening.
And I hope he complains about it while he's on screen. Said something about it. I hope he complains.
Yes.
Oh, I had a good thought. No, I forgot. I don't know. We'll see him. Even though Patrick Stewart came out today, they were talking about something, interviewing him for something, and the person brought it up, and he said, "Oh, people have been mimicking my voice for many, many years."
I don't believe anything that actors say anymore about these movies. We listened to Andrew Garfield lie for months about not being in Spider-Man No Way Home, and that poor guy had to go because he was in 2 other movies this year, one of them being really successful. He had to go on just a huge media circuit all year long to promote these movies. And every single time he was in front of a microphone, he was asked if he was in the new Spider-Man movie. And every single time he told us he wasn't. And then what happened? He was in the damn movie. So I don't believe anything that these actors say anymore. We had to listen to Paul Bettany tell us that they had a cameo with an actor he's always wanted to work with. Like, I don't know. When it comes to the MCU, I don't believe anything an actor says. I'm not saying that they're not always sometimes telling the truth, because certainly they will be, but I don't believe anything they say. Like, I don't think, like Ryan Reynolds. Is that where you want to go with this?
Ryan Reynolds.
I think Deadpool will be in a post-credit for this movie. I do not believe Deadpool will show up and have an impact on the movie itself. I believe he will show up in some sort of comical post-credit scene, and that will be his introduction to the MCU. But I do not think he is in the bulk of this movie. I know he has said that he is not in this movie, which he might not be, but I believe with all of my heart that he will be in a post-credit stinger for this movie.
Because one of the things I read, because in Loki, the Kane variant, you know, what was his name? He Who Remains, or whatever his name was.
Right.
Said there was a multiverse war, and that's why they need a sacred timeline. So one of the things I read was you're going to have this big battle between Doctor Strange and these characters. That's why Tobey Maguire's brought up. That's why X-Men are brought up, versus Wanda and these other characters we'll find as villains. And you'll get this big battle at the end, and that's why they kind of compare it to Endgame, where you're in this multiverse war battle.
Yeah, I mean, I could see something like that happening, but I don't believe the numbers will be comparable to what Endgame was, just because that's just a lot of freaking actors to try to get together during a pandemic, mind you. Like, I don't know. Yes, I do think that that's very likely how this movie will play out. It'll be, I would guess it's more like, and this is a movie I've already referenced once today, more like Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
About 6 characters on each side, probably more comparable to what this movie would potentially be in that scenario. I could see like a 6 versus 6, you know, across the multiverse type of thing, you know, that type of thing happening, as opposed to like an Endgame style thing. That I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you agree, or do you think that do you still think there might be like 50 characters that show up to one giant?
Oh,
I know you want this movie to be like the greatest movie of all time, and I would love for it to be too. But like, let's back down a little bit. Let's temper our expectations a tad bit. Do you really think they're going to bring in 50 actors from across the Marvel universe for a giant event, Endgame style melee at the end of a Doctor Strange movie? Again, no offense to Doctor Strange, but it's a Doctor Strange movie. It's not an Avengers movie.
I just think they will travel through different parts of the universe. I agree. I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire and all these people at the very end of like the early 2000s Avengers versus, you know, 2020 Marvel battle. No, I don't think that at all. I think you'll see a couple. I think it'd be really cool if one or two of them jumped in with Strange, and then you have a couple other variants jump in at the end.
Right. I'm with you. I was just referencing what you mentioned at the top of the show about it being like Endgame size. And like, that would be like every single X-Men, every single Spider-Man, every single MCU character, every single member of the Fantastic Four. Like, that's just not happening. Like, all these people aren't showing up. Yes, I do think there will be multiple characters coming in from multiple universes, and there will be some sort of scene where a bunch of them are on screen together fighting. I think that's inevitable. I just don't think it'll be Endgame size. I think it'll be more like Civil War size.
Right. I agree. Because when I read that, I thought it was cool. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? The only way you could accomplish anything close to that is they're going to be on there for 10 minutes. And I don't think these guys would want to come back. Now, they did have to shoot for 6 straight weeks. You know, Benedict Cumberbatch had to go and they had to reshoot for 6 weeks. But then after this trailer, I said, oh, he could have just filmed scenes as Sinister Strange. He could have filmed scenes as the Guardian Strange. So there's no real proof of they flew out these characters, filmed for 6 weeks after they delayed the movie already from March to May, and in order to make this happen. I don't think that happened. Now, I just think seeing him having to be multiple characters, that could have been what it was. Hey, you have to come back and film these different scenes.
I don't know what that was about. Movies have reshoots all the time. That is certainly not something new. It's not new to MCU movies. I don't know what they had to reshoot for 6 weeks. I know people wanted to speculate it had something to do with Andrew Garfield because that movie just did so well and he was so beloved that they wanted him to be in the movie. I don't think was that. No, I don't believe that.
I think if they already had Toby a part of it or whoever, that's enough Sony influence.
I don't know. I'm not looking into the whole reshoots that much, just because who knows? Who knows what happened? They might have just gotten to the editing room and been like, "This doesn't look very good. We need to redo this," or who knows? Like it could have been a whole host of things. And without us really knowing anything, it's hard to know like what they could have possibly be reshooting.
I don't know, because one thing that confuses me, and I want answers, and I may never get them, is changing the characters in Spider-Man No Way Home, sending them back to their universe, being changed. Now you've changed a point in time of like who they are, and we learned in What If that just doesn't work. So that's why I thought, is that why Tobey Maguire is in this movie? Because his universe is now crumbling because they changed these characters and sent them back. You're changing a point in that timeline. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you're going deep.
I'm going. And so the Andrew Garfield thing is a good point because they have said this, and because remember, and whether this is true or not, some writers were mad about the What If stuff because some of it was supposed to be this Doctor Strange movie, but they were going through different directors. They had, the first Doctor Strange director, then they had to bring in, a new one. They had to bring in different people. And so there was just a lot of things going on, whether that's true or not. And again, this movie was supposed to come out before Spider-Man. This was supposed to be it. So I don't know what they changed. Maybe you're right. Maybe the 6 weeks was Tobey Maguire coming back because of what they did. I don't know.
It could have been a lot of things. And you're right. The order has been shuffled around with these things, mostly due to COVID. So who knows? I mean, it could have had to do with that. It could have had to do with something for now that they know this. I don't know. Who knows? But it could be a whole number of things. And to answer your question, that I don't know if you'll ever get an answer to that. That's kind of part of the issue with the whole Sony Marvel thing is, yes, the MCU is involved, but it's ultimately Sony's movie. So they can pretty much do whatever they want with it. Kevin Feige just has to sign off on it. And that could have just been one of those things where he's like, yeah, all right, we'll sign off on this. And who knows if they'll try to retcon it or if they'll try to canonize it. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
See, I went deep with that.
I don't have an answer for you. That's pretty deep. I watched What If. I didn't really care for it. I didn't really get into it. So maybe I might try to revisit it again before this. I probably will try to revisit it again. Now that I know it's a little more involved, then I always knew that it was gonna okay, I'll say this. I don't think that it's and they could show that I'm wrong. I don't know that it's totally MCU canon, but I think it's like a side sort of canon thing. I don't know what you'd call it.
Right.
I do think there are going to be I think that Jeffrey Wright's The Watcher I think he's very likely to show up in this movie, but I don't necessarily know that means it's totally canon. But I guess it could just be another universe, and that's just what they're going to call it. You know,
Yeah.
another thing we haven't really talked about here. I kind of briefly mentioned it, but I wonder if there will be some sort of tie-in to the X-Men animated series, because they have announced that is coming to Disney Plus. And not that it like part of the movie is going to be animation. I'm not suggesting that, but I would not be surprised if they're going to somehow make What If a universe, that they won't maybe do something with X-Men animated version as being some sort of part of a universe.
Well,
That's
they haven't.
Theory.
I think they've announced there's going to be a What If season 2. I think they've already done that. There will be.
They'll keep making those. It's cheap and easy, and it'll give more content for Disney Plus, so that will never stop.
Did you see the picture? I don't know if that's the one I tagged you in, where there's a picture in the trailer when Strange starts to turn into the blocks. He's holding American Chavez. If someone screenshotted it, when one of those worlds explodes, you see a cartoon behind him, like the X-Men universe thing. So that could possibly be true.
Yeah. I mean, there could be some sort of animated sequence in this movie. That wouldn't surprise me, just because of how crazy they're going with the universes. So yeah, I mean, that wouldn't shock me if there is a, Mary Poppins-esque animated segment of this movie that references What If, and maybe even references the X-Men. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think it'll be a large segment of the movie, but I could totally see them doing a few minutes like that.
Because it showed that, so it's whether they're just showing that to introduce it. Do they actually go into it? Did they film it that way because of COVID? Because The Blacklist, a show I like, COVID happened right before the season finale, and they had half of it filmed. So half of it was real people, and the other half was like a comic.
Yeah. Could be.
I'm trying to find the picture so I could post it, and I can't find it. Because it shows the X-Men comic. So that's a good point you just made. That's possibly very true. And then my TVA theory was debunked. Because in the first trailer in the Doctor Strange or the Spider-Man movie, it shows Wanda's hand making like the red ball, and right behind it had like this orange doorway that looked like a TVA door. So I said, oh, this introduces this. But then it shows the battle, it's flames. So that kind of took the wind out of my sails on that one.
Sorry.
Because they just want to ruin it for me. I gotta find that picture. And there was something else. I could go on for hours and hours. There was something else. Shit. Yeah, so here's a rumor. Illuminati are the real villains. They intend to wipe out the MCU because MCU heroes are screwing up the multiverse.
I mean, again, it's possible. It is possible. I don't think anything is off the table. I don't think they would do that, but that actually does make some sense now that you've said that again, because that would kind of go into my theory of, if it's the Illuminati, I feel like they're going to show up more than once. But if they're actually the bad guys in this movie and they're quote unquote defeated, then maybe they don't have to show up again. Maybe we just get past that. So when this podcast started, I was against that theory, but I'm now starting to lean into that a little more. I think that could be on the table.
Yeah, I didn't think of that at all. Oh, I think I found it. Now, how do I get it on the screen? See, Logan, I spend too much time digging deep into this.
I know you do.
And the sad part is, how much of this trailer will we not see in the movie?
How much of the trailer? I mean, that happens all the time. Like every single MCU trailer, there's always parts of it that aren't in the movie or are altered for the movie or whatever. The point of the trailer is to get you excited and to get you to buy tickets to the movie. Once they've done that, none of the trailer could be in the movie. And you could go in there and it could be a freaking X-Men movie and we would have no idea. But we had already bought the tickets because we thought we were there for a Doctor Strange movie. How would you feel, Steve, if you walked into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and you find out in the first 5 minutes that it's actually an X-Men reboot?
I will walk out of the building. I will walk out.
That's funny. That's not happening. But yeah, I mean, the point of the trailer is just to get you to buy tickets. So they can show you whatever they want in the trailer. They do it all the time. There's always things. We saw it with Spider-Man. There were parts of that they didn't include or they took out. Like, it happens all the time. So yeah, there's going to be stuff that they showed in the trailer. And some of it isn't even intentional. Some of it just gets cut while they're editing the movie. Like, they have to cut it down to a certain length. And so sometimes some of those things look cool for a trailer, but they end up getting cut out for not any reason in particular other than for time. So
it's not letting me share it.
Sorry.
Whoops. See? And technology. Oh, am I going to throw this computer out?
You going to edit this out?
No.
This is great content, Steve.
If they don't like it, they don't have to listen.
Okay.
It's the way I look at it. So, do you think this movie will have... Real quick. They say there's an Avenger that still remembers Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
They say... Who says this?
The internet.
The internet claims that there is an Avenger that still remembers Peter Parker as Spider-Man?
Yep.
Am I supposed to guess who this is? Or is there already a theory out there?
Do you think Doctor Strange remembers?
I think he's probably the most likely.
They think it's Captain Marvel. Because they went through every Avenger and they said, do they really know who he was? Because think about all the Avengers he wasn't around. He wasn't really around Thor. He wasn't really around the Guardians of the Galaxy. He wasn't around.
But no, that doesn't really fit, though, because there's the moment in Endgame where he hands her the gauntlet.
That's why they think she's the one.
Why?
Because she goes, "Hi, Peter Parker."
Yeah.
So that's why they think she's the one that remembers.
I guess I don't understand why her. Not that it couldn't happen, but like, what's the reasoning there? Because she knows who he is in Endgame. So if she's a part of the universe that Doctor Strange snaps or whatever, does his spell, is it everybody on Earth that this applies to? Because if that's the case, then the Guardians and Thor and everybody else is not on Earth. I guess I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch No Way Home again to see that. But I don't know how that spell worked. Was it just the on Earth or was it the universe?
Right. I don't know. And that's why in the movie when they say your desecration of reality is not going to go unpunished, are they talking about what he did in Spider-Man No Way Home? Are they talking about what he did in Infinity War when he's traveling?
Yeah. And then, see, for one, I'm not sure that it really matters because I don't know what Tom Holland's future is in the MCU. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's somebody out there that still knows who he is. I don't know who it is. It could be Captain Marvel. Could be Doctor Strange. Could be a Guardian. Could be Thor. I don't know. But it wouldn't shock me if they do end up making more MCU movies with him that they have some sort of reasoning for why somebody remembers him.
Because
I don't think they would just start over his trilogy, just give him a whole new trilogy where nobody knows who he is. That doesn't really make sense for continuity purposes. So somebody's going to know who he is if they do in fact make more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies in the MCU. Somebody will know who he is. They're not just going to start over with a whole new character with same character, but I don't know. That just seems weird to me.
That's what I think, and I also think that there was that scene where Wong says, "Strange, you can't control everything."
Right.
I wonder if he does something else in this movie at the beginning because what's her face, Christine is getting married. Do they hint to a what if thing, or maybe he wants to change something and all this stuff?
Stephen Strange is kind of a loose cannon.
He's a loose cannon.
Let's be honest.
And he wants to control everything.
Right. So yeah, he probably does screw something else up, which what leads this whole movie. What are you showing me there, Steve?
That's the picture where there's like a cartoon up here, and it's hard to see. Bless it.
Is super small.
Bless it, because now let me share my screen. Stupid computer.
Don't worry about it, Steve. It's not that important.
It's important. It's important.
Move on.
So that's my theory of I think he does something else in the movie, and then it's just built up. You've traveled through time and did this. Because my only thing is this all his fault? Is it all his fault?
No.
And the answer is going to be no.
No. It's Wanda's fault. Wanda started this mess.
Wanda started it. Sylvie killed the guy and broke the thing.
Yes.
Oh, did you see the video that someone made that Strange knows about the He Who Remains? Because in Spider-Man No Way Home, where he was talking to Peter saying like where they were he just captured the Lizard Man and now they've got, Dr. Octavius. He said this shouldn't even be possible. And so that could be the moment where things are breaking. And so with the spell breaking was so much easier. So there's just a lot of things that are going to get connected in the movie.
Yeah.
But I think, because it is weird how a spell like that, it just gradually was allowed characters to come in from the multiverse. So this thing has had to have happened with Loki first.
Right.
Like if you go about it. So I wonder if he knows about this. Does he know there's a person with the timeline? Will I get the answers I'm looking for in this movie?
My answer to that question is the man sat there in Infinity War or in Endgame. I get them all confused now. Infinity War, or whichever one, and went through however many scenarios to find out how the Avengers can beat Thanos. So if he can do that, I feel like he knows that there's this power out there that's Kang. So yes, I think he will probably at some point know who that is.
And then what do you think about the scene real quick where Wanda says, you break the rules, you become a hero. I break the rules, I become a villain. That just doesn't seem fair.
What about it?
Is she right?
We don't know.
Can you see it?
Yes.
See that?
Yes. So what am I looking at?
They think this cartoon back here that they're falling out of, that's the X-Men comic, like cartoon.
Yep. It's a cartoon traffic cone.
Yeah, and then you see how his colors have changed back here on his legs.
Yeah. Yep. That is wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, that is happening. We are going into the animated X-Men universe. Boom. You heard it here first, folks. This is happening. Okay. I love that you showed me that. That's wonderful. I mean, without like knowing the full context of what she's saying, like it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. All we've seen so far is WandaVision and what she did in WandaVision, and we've seen him for all of 20 minutes in No Way Home. So I don't know. I mean, I can't really give you a full opinion on that because we don't really know the whole context of what she's saying. Right?
Right. But people were saying there's a difference between enslaving a whole town like she did compared to him just going through time, which you found out in Loki that was supposed to happen. Like that's and that was supposed to happen. He Who Remains is like we've watched. That's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Wanda can do whatever she wants. She is a Nexus being, so she has no, like, she's the same in everything. She's the same in every universe. So she can do whatever she wants and will have no repercussions on really anything, to be honest with you. It doesn't really change anything.
This is the scene I'm talking about. You see how they've changed it?
So you're saying that's the same exact scene?
Or like this scene on the left that we got in the first trailer is going to happen. But then like I think Scarlet Witch is an alter ego. I think that when she gets mad, the Scarlet Witch comes out. I think that's happening. I think there's going to be Wanda and there's going to be Scarlet Witch. It's going to be two different people.
Yeah.
And I think he says something to piss her off. And then Scarlet Witch shows up, and then Strange kind of realizes, like, oh, I've got to keep an eye on this.
Right.
Because Westview has to get brought up. You know, it has to be talked about. And another thing, it's been proven he was supposed to be there. Like, at some point in WandaVision, Strange was supposed to be there, but with COVID restrictions, he couldn't travel to get there.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be talked about. So what they're saying is that scene that we got, she made that world. And then she just changed it as Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or
she's the most powerful person in the MCU that we've seen so far. So she can do anything.
Or the scene we got in the second trailer won't be there. They'll do the nice little version. They were just showing us both that they tried out and one just didn't work.
I think you'll see both to some degree.
That would be cool. I hope so.
You'll see both to some degree.
Do we think Wong will give up his Sorcerer Supreme status?
Yes. I think by the end of the movie, it'll probably be Doctor Strange again.
Do we think we'll see an Eternal? Because I've had this conversation with somebody else about what's the point of Eternals. They asked me if they should watch it. And I said, yes, it's a good movie. You need to watch it. Then they said, how does it tie in? And I said, I don't know.
We have no idea. We have no clue. Other than Dane Whitman. We know that Kit Harington's character will have some sort of connection to Blade and potentially Moon Knight, I think, is on the table there. The rest of them will show up to some degree. We know there's going to be more. We just don't really know. We don't have no idea how. I mean, I did make the comment that I would say there's some percentage of a chance that one of them could be as a member of the Illuminati. That wouldn't shock me. But I would say the chances are probably slim that we actually see one of them in this movie.
Just because I'm rewatching it?
Are there supposed to be different variants of Eternals? Or I would guess not, right? They are probably like there's probably just one of those people, correct?
I would think so. And
I would guess no.
I would hope we eventually get clarification on this, because when you just seen a Celestial from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and the stuff we've seen, I hope they clarify this Eternal stuff at some point, because it is very confusing. It is very all that.
Right.
So I don't think we will either. I'm trying to just see how this movie will fit in, unless it's an end credit scene. But I don't even think they've gotten that far yet with like what they're going to do with.
I think you'll see very little to do with any character from Eternals for quite a while. Probably until Blade would be my guess. whenever that comes out, and that's probably not for another 3 to 4 years. So
it's either going to be. At first, I thought maybe they'd have a tie-in with Guardians just because it's in space. But with that being the last Guardians movie, is it really going to? Or Thor? I thought maybe it could have something to do with Thor.
I could see one of them showing up in Guardians. I think Harry Styles' character is probably more likely to show up in Guardians, would be my guess. More so than any of the actual event or Eternals that we saw. Because though that might be the next time we see anybody from that movie, but I don't think anybody shows up in this.
Just because I'm watching it before it gets kicked off Netflix. I hope Charlie Cox comes back as Daredevil, but it's not going to happen.
It won't be in this movie. No, but I think you will see him in the future, but not here.
Because they're taking all those off Netflix on the 28th.
They'll be on Disney Plus or Hulu.
I hope so, because I'm like, I can't watch all of them before the 28th. Yeah. I'll get done with Daredevil.
It may not be right away, but at some point they will be on one of those two platforms.
And if Deadpool's not in it, I'm going to go find Ryan Reynolds and be pissed because he needs to be in the movie.
I don't think he would be in it any more than a post-credit stinger. I think that's likely. I think it's very likely that he shows up in a stinger. I know he's denying it, and I've heard somebody on a podcast say that he's heard that he's actually not in the movie. I don't know that I believe that either. But I would say I would give it at a pretty decent chance that he shows up in a stinger.
Well, because he put that picture up and deleted it of him in his suit. And one of the people behind him is the same costume designer in Doctor Strange 2. And he deleted it.
Oh, the internet's a fun place. Yeah, I also
said it's Ryan Reynolds, so he could have just done that to mess with people.
Right.
That could have been from Deadpool 2. And he just puts it up there because Ryan Reynolds doesn't age, so he's going to look the same. Will we see Paul Rudd?
No.
Damn.
No. I don't think you're going to see anybody in this movie that doesn't have... Well, no, I don't think you'll see Paul Rudd. I know Quantum Mania will have some sort of multiverse ties, so maybe... I think Hank Pym is probably more likely to show up than Paul Rudd is. So Michael Douglas. But I don't think that happens either. Maybe a stinger. Again, maybe a post-credit thing because of Quantum Mania, but I'm going to go with no.
That's a good call. That's a good idea. Good theory.
Because I do think in the comics, I think Hank Pym at some point is a member of the Illuminati.
So, yeah, I think so.
I think that's on the table. It would be his version of Ant-Man, probably. I don't know how they would do it if he would be de-aged or whatever, but I doubt it.
And then to wrap it up, because we've been on here for a while, I think we'll see Westview again because you saw the thing with two Wandas, and that's why I have that theory of there's two of them, and that could be a variant, or that could be the Westview one that she created that's still there.
Yes, I do think you'll see something to do with Westview, but I will ask you this question. Will we see Agatha?
Yes, because how can you show in WandaVision that she's in Westview and she goes, I know where to find you, and then you show a house similar to that. And that book is going to have to come back. Yeah. And if they go by the comic book that I've read, there's another book out there, and the scene where Strange opens up the door and it's going upside down and it shows that world, that's where this book is that he's going to try to find. So whether it's a different book, the same book, and that's where he kind of realizes Wanda has this, I think you'll see Agatha, whether it's an end credit scene or at the end. You have to, right? I think you'd have to.
I would love it. She has been one of my favorite characters of the entire MCU. So I think there's a good chance she does, but I'm also kind of surprised that we haven't seen anything about her. I almost feel like if she was in this movie, we would know that. like she would be in a trailer, or she would be announced. Like, I feel like she's the type of character that they would tell us she's in it. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of my thought on her. Is I just feel like she would be not a major enough character to, like, it's so recent too. It's like, that wouldn't be like a huge spoiler for us to know that she was in this movie. I just think, like, you know, with Doctor Strange and with Wanda and with Rachel McAdams' character, like these characters that they're telling us are flat out in this movie, I feel like she would be one of them. Would be my guess. That's the only reason I'm hesitant to say she is, but I could be totally wrong.
But I'm also telling myself they have time to show another trailer before this comes out. So it's quite possible.
Time, yes. And I'm sure we will see another trailer. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would stop showing us trailers altogether. But yes, I do think we'll see another trailer.
But that is a good point. But I also think it's hard to do a movie because I am the only one in the world pissed off at this. And you know this because I said it from day one or after WandaVision. They said WandaVision's a tee off to Doctor Strange. And I'm still struggling with, what do you mean it's a tee off? Are you just because you're hinting at the multiverse, even though they didn't call it that? So if it's true,
what are you upset about? I don't understand.
Because I didn't understand, how is this a tee off to Doctor Strange? Because the more they're showing it, the more it's like, no,
just
Spider-Man.
because Doctor Strange wasn't in it?
No, because in Loki, they start to really talk about the multiverse and what it broke. And so I had thought Loki should have been a tee off of, like, this is what's happening because of the title, Multiverse of Madness. And then Spider-Man's also a tee off. So I'm like, is WandaVision really a tee off? I don't understand why. Maybe I have to rewatch it to fully understand it.
I think part of this too has to do with the original order these were supposed to come out in. I don't remember what the order was, but was WandaVision supposed to come out right before?
Oh, that's true.
Doctor Strange?
Yes, it was supposed to come out.
In my opinion, I think it's very much a tee off to it. Yes, there has been a few things that have come out between them that have had to do with it, like Loki and No Way Home both had to do with the multiverse to some degree, and Doctor Strange was in No Way Home. So in a way, like, they're all teeing up whatever you're trying to say, like, leading up to it. But I think WandaVision is Wanda is half of this movie. Let's be honest. Like, this is almost going to be just as much a Wanda movie as it is a Doctor Strange movie. And so that was everything to do with her was in that. So you're just upset because Doctor Strange wasn't in WandaVision. And that was just a scheduling issue that they just eventually had to cut out. He was never supposed to be a big part of that show either. He was just supposed to show up, and that was supposed to tee off Multiverse of Madness. But all of them are tied to it to some degree. And so
I am no longer mad.
Okay.
Because you're right. You're right. Spring of 2021, WandaVision. May 7th of 2021, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
And then Loki was supposed to come out after Doctor Strange.
There you go.
And here's a character that we have not brought up that will probably show up, and it's from Shang-Chi. Because of the connection with Wong. Will he show up in Doctor Strange?
No. I'm going to go with no.
I got excited because I saw that because it come out before WandaVision.
I mean, yes, it's certainly on the table because of his connection to Wong, but I'm going to go with no. Well, we should have been doing like percentages this whole time. Like, most likely that this would happen. I think there's a chance. There's a chance. I'm not going to say it's a huge chance, but again, I don't. Could he show up? Yes. Will he play a huge role? No. We'll say that, but I think he could show up.
I think he could show up and help out Wong in that battle that shows like that smoke coming over them. I think he might just be there.
Could be.
Like you said, all these characters we have talked about will not play a huge role. Because this is a Doctor Strange movie, we have to go off of what's happened in the first Doctor Strange movie, what's happened in Infinity War, and then it's half of a Wanda, so we have to go by that. You know, we have to attack those demons. And then obviously they don't have to solve everything in this movie. They could heal some of it up, like in Spider-Man. You know, they didn't solve everything, and it could just go off into another movie or a TV show.
Correct.
We don't have to.
This is a Doctor Strange movie.
Yes.
And also a Wanda movie. Those are the two characters this is going to focus on. That is why I do not believe this is going to be a huge Endgame Infinity level Avengers sort of movie. Because it is granted, Civil War did kind of break the mold. So I could see it being more like that. But because it is a Doctor Strange movie and he is supposed to be the focal point, I just don't see all of these characters showing up. Yes, some of them will for some period of time, but I don't think they'll be much more than just a cameo for most of these characters. Just because it is a Doctor Strange movie. It's not an Avengers movie. If this was an Avengers movie, then yes, absolutely. But it's not. It is a Doctor Strange and Wanda movie. And that's really what this is at its core.
Yep. And I think it could also be you know how Spider-Man was like a big celebration of Tobey Maguire a little bit, like, oh, we thank you for the movie, blah, blah. This could be another one of like celebrating early 2000s when you see just a character from that. I think that also could be like a celebration of Marvel. Like, look at this universe. Like in the first trailer, you saw the Marvel. They showed every single intro Marvel that they've ever done.
Right.
So this could be a celebration of like, look at all that Marvel has done. And then now look at where they're going to go. Screw your timeline. Screw your type of universe. We're just going to blow this thing up.
Right.
And go with it. And eventually, I'm surprised he said there'd be no Avengers movie because they have come out. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We should probably mention that.
I'm trying to
finish what you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say, I'm surprised they said that because they did come out and say Doctor Strange is like the leader of it. And I said, okay. But then you come out and say there's no Avengers movie, which I understand. I fully get it because since everything's now intertwined, since everything's together, I would fully be okay with no Avengers movie. But it is kind of weird that they come out and said Endgame is the last Avengers.
Here is my response to that. I do believe that we are done seeing movies from the Avengers franchise. But I do not believe we are done seeing Avengers-like team-up movies. I think this could be one, but I think that they will at some point do Young Avengers or Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts, something like that. Yep. We already know Secret Invasion is coming, and it's going to have some sort of tie into these things.
Yep.
There's another project down the road too that I believe is supposed to have some sort of tie. So, as the Avengers franchise as we know it, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame, the Avengers franchise done. Because we are done with those characters.
Yep.
Just a few of them are left at this point.
Yep.
But I do believe there will be a future Avengers style franchise down the road, but I don't believe it'll be the Avengers. I believe it'll be something different. So that's what I think he means by that.
I thought of that as well because of you saw in Spider-Man how easily Peter Parker could go to Doctor Strange. Well, there's your Avengers characters.
Right.
Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy have to be intertwined somehow. So there's that.
Right. They're all going to have some sort of tie into something else. And that's we didn't even really talk about we talked about this off the air about, are they getting too big for this?
That's how I was going to end this.
Yeah. Let's wrap that up with this. So I think I'm a little concerned that they are getting a little too big right now, but I will counter that by saying yes, this will be the second huge second huge MCU crossover movie in a row. So that to me is alarming, but I don't believe that all of the future movies are going to be like that. yes,
No.
we do know that Thor and the Guardians are going to tie to each other, and we do know that Captain Marvel. There's going to be tie-ins to other, like, you know, down all the way down the road. But I kind of backed up from my stance on that. I think it's just a kind of a coincidence almost that these are 2 movies in a row like this. But I don't think that means like the future is only going to be this. So
Right.
I know I've said that to you in the past, but I think it's just an instance of timing, and how they've come out. The 2 of them in a row have been essentially like this. But because this is also like, this is coming out now because of the Fox merger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, this is just a timing thing as to why these movies are coming out back to back. It's COVID, it's the Fox merger, those are pretty much the 2 main reasons as to why Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, 2 big crossover style epic movies, are going to be back to back. But I don't think that, you know, Thor, I mean, yes, a lot of people are going to be in Thor, but it's not going to be like that. Black Panther is not going to be like that. Captain Marvel is not going to be like that. Yes, there will be tie into other franchises, but not to the scope of what these 2 have been and will be.
Yeah, because you and I talked about before, and I've said this. I was very worried about Doctor Strange being a too big of a movie. Like, again, if we want all these characters to come in, that's going to be a 4-hour movie, and it's already slated to be 2 hours and 50 minutes to 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be huge. And I'm afraid of that. And like you said, I think if they went by the original, if COVID never happened, the string of these movies, you'd have a big time movie, good movies in between, a big time movie.
Right.
And like you said, I think it was just because Feige, they're smart. They're smart. And again, I don't think they want to release them this way, but because of what happened, they kind of have to. But again, because you're about to do these almost back to back, the expectation then is, well, we want Thor to be just as big. We want Guardians 3 to be just as big. We want
and they won't be, and they won't do that, I don't think. I was worried about that, but after thinking about it, I don't think so.
That was my fear. But again, we have to understand the way now this is set up. This is like, again, I think what they're going to do is see these TV shows kind of get wrapped up slowly, because this one, you know, it has Loki leading into it, WandaVision leading into it, and then you have a movie leading into it.
Right.
And then Secret Invasion is going to have Falcon the Winter Soldier lead into it, like that type of stuff.
Right.
So I think that's what's about to happen. I don't know what Hawkeye is going to lead into. Is that going to be Young Avengers? Probably leak into that.
Yeah.
It might leak into a new Daredevil if they decide to just reboot that a little bit because of the connection.
Right.
It could lead into that. Who knows? But I agree. I'm a little worried. Overall, you and I will go to a theater and be like, okay, we know this movie will not be as big as these movies. They're going to be good, but they're not going to be this. We're not going to see these huge box office numbers every single time. It's just unrealistic to see this. I mean, Marvel's going to save theaters, but we will not see that. Again, hopefully Doctor Strange isn't too big of a movie. Hopefully it's not clunky. Hopefully it's not, because you had what's the original guy's name? Scott Derrickson. Yeah.
Scott Derrickson.
Hopefully it's not.
I think this will be a good movie. I'm not worried about it bombing or being bad. The MCU doesn't make a lot of duds, and I don't see this being one. I think you're okay.
I'll be camping out in a tent to walk in.
I'll be there opening night, whenever it is, May 7th, May 6th.
And then to wrap it up, are we excited for Moon Knight?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I'm very excited for Moon Knight. Yes. When does that start? Is that March?
Yep.
Are we getting that this next month?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Moon Knight. That looks so awesome. So dope. Very excited.
And then the directors and stuff are doing Loki season 2 from Moon Knight.
Yep. Which that's exciting as well. March
30th is the first episode.
Real quick. Stranger Things. Coming. Finally. In May. Or May and July, I think.
May 27th
Will be
and July 1st.
And part 2. There you go.
Then season 5 will be the end.
Season 5 will be Christmas. Book it. I said that about season 4 and I was wrong, but season 5 will be Christmas themed.
Yep, volume 1, May 27th. They've already shown the first 4 chapters, and then the second volume, July 1st, will be the second part of season 4, and then season 5 will be the end. They've titled this whole thing, Every Ending Has a Beginning.
Very excited for that as well.
2 or 3 year hiatus, I believe.
It's been a long time.
Those kids are going to be 25 years old.
No. They'll get it done quick.
And then there's a rumor real quick. Spin-offs of this Stranger Things is going to happen.
Probably. It's too big of a franchise for them to not do something with it.
It's going to be like a Walking Dead type of thing where they're going to do different things.
I believe it. For sure.
But yeah, Stranger Things coming back. Moon Knight's coming. Moon Knight will get us through, hopefully, until Doctor Strange will be enough fill.
I'm ready. Let's go.
I've got to watch Book of Boba Fett still.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
That's what I've heard.
I mean, you need to watch it if you're planning on keeping up with Mandalorian. But
yes, I'm going to watch it. And then hopefully we get another Doctor Strange trailer. I know you don't want it, but I do. But that's just me.
More for you to theorize about.
Oh, I'm not done theorizing.
I know.
You're going to come back to that Google Doc, and there's going to be a book, and you're not going to review.
I'm sure. All right, let's wrap this thing up.
All right, Logan came back. Thank you, Logan. Hopefully this movie's not too big. Hopefully it's not too big, and
no such thing.
No such thing. Hopefully that is Patrick Stewart. I'm 99.9% sure it is, even though he's claiming it may not be him. I think they're given scripts of what to say when asked questions. Of like, you just say this. Benedict Cumberbatch was asked if he will continue to play Doctor Strange as long as they want him to. He responded with, he'll only play it if the character is interesting. So they have to change his character all the time because he wants a challenge in his acting.
He's a good actor. Did you watch Power of the Dog yet?
No, that is on the list.
Not a fan. It's probably going to win Best Picture, which, fine, whatever. It's good, but it bored me to death. But whatever.
That's on the list. That is on the list.
The Logies are coming. It'll mention your boy Benedict Cumberbatch. Don't you worry.
We better wait till after Doctor Strange. He'll win Best Actor ever.
Okay. All right. Calm yourself. Been fun, Steve.
It's been fun. Thank you, Logan. Everyone go check out No One Asked Us podcast for your Illini shows, sports shows, movies.
Nice
Logie will be on there, I'm sure. It's on Twitter. It's on everything.
Yep. Follow us on Twitter at No One Asked Us Pod. You can get all of our links there. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever else you get your podcasts. As I said, our Illini post game just went up earlier to about an hour or so ago. So that's there for you to listen to. And we'll have another one on Thursday after Ohio State, who just lost to Iowa. So good stuff.
And everyone check on Craig from the Rutgers game because it looked like he wanted to jump off a bridge.
Craig's doing fine. He's surviving.
All right. Thank you, Logan.
Thank you, Steve.
This has been Geek Corner, and we'll see you guys probably for Moon Knight talk when it comes out. Maybe.
Very excited.
Who knows?
See ya.
See ya. Thank you.